Your uni, your team. From kick-off to the final whistle. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Hello and welcome to your sports show. We've just had a little bit of a technical difficulty there. I'm Will, first week hosting in Studio 1. We hosted last week. I've got Tyler with me and I've got Josh with me. How are we doing, lads?
Doing alright, how are you?
Good. Yeah, after that technical difficulty then. But I forgot to turn the mics on, which is quite funny. But we'll move on. We'll talk about same old really. United, women and men. City, women and men. England, women who just announced the squad. And Salford City. We'll have it all covered over the next hour or so, bit of music and all the rest. Hopefully there'll be no more technical difficulties, because that, whoa, we're off to a flying start, aren't we? Flying start. But really, yeah, one of them. So, should we start with United? Yeah, start with United. Go on, fill us in on United. We've got Ipswich at the weekend, Tyler, go on.
Yeah, first game under Ruben Amorim. Quite exciting, actually. It's quite exciting to see. Obviously, I've been on Twitter watching, I actually watched a 7-minute video of Ruben Amorim training, and I was in love.
Yeah, but anything can go on
I don't
training.
care.
Surely anything can go on in training.
It's reeling me back in again. I'm loving it. This is. But yeah, we'll see how he plays. We'll see who's fit, who's not. I think there's talks that Mason Mount's fit again, properly fit. Euro might get a chance. Reinu might be all right to get us a few minutes. So it's quite exciting. Looking forward to the game. It's going to be a big game. Ipswich, they've just come off a win against Spurs, so they'll be wanting to beat United. But I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, Josh, you're not a United fan.
Quite the opposite, mate.
Yeah, Amorim, bit of fresh blood at United for what seems to be a millionth time since Fergie. What do you think he's got to do to? Well, we've got now until May, haven't we, to be a success?
See, I'm really struggling to answer this question every time that they bring in a new manager because, the key is to win over the fans. United fans are so unbelievably passionate, and if you don't perform straight from the get-go, they're going to be after your head immediately. And typically I notice the cycle is managers at United, ever since Fergie left, they've usually had 2 years where they've looked really strong, and then in the third year they've always dropped off. Maybe the results aren't coming in, and the fans just fully turn around and go, no, we need someone new. Personally, I'm still believing that Ten Hag wasn't the problem at United. I think it was more down to the players maybe not having the right mentality, and I think not performing at the standard that they should be doing. So I think Amorim, however, is a great manager. He did so well with Sporting. He's had a great history. The success is very clear with the players that he's raised up through that academy in Portugal. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll produce. He just needs to think maybe outside the box, try and make that squad more his play style and move away from the Ten Hag way of United, really, with the certain players he's using, formations. But yeah, this is a must-win, really, against Ipswich, a relegation club.
Yeah, so Ipswich got the first win of the season against Spurs, as Ty said. They're sat 17th, United are sat 13th, but 13th doesn't say all, does it really? The table were quite close this year, something we've not seen for a while. United are 4 points off third. So
I think that's the issue with the fans. They look at the table rather than how many points we're actually off. Yeah. Obviously, we've not had a great start to the season by all means, and I'm not, defending the fact that we're only that we're 13th for a reason because we've had a horrible start to the season. But the fact that we're 4 points off, 4 points off, realistically, we're still in the mix of top four, regardless of how the season's gone. So I think the fans are just looking at the league position rather than the points we actually have. Yeah, that's the issue. But
should we contrast that with the blue side of Manchester? And City have just lost twice, 2 losses on the bounce. Pep's lost for Josh is smiling there. Pep's lost for 4 times on the trot in his first time in his City career, and he's just signed a 1-year extension yesterday. What's the issue with them at the minute? Because they've played 11 and they're second, but they seem off the pace. They're not the silky smooth Rolls Royce City of old that we've seen. The scraping wins.
I think this is very common, really, for this time of year for City. I think people tend to forget kind of how City always tend to start off their season. They tend to start off quite shaky, a bit slow. There's a couple injuries that usually last at least half a season, and they just come alive among the end of winter, coming into springtime towards the end of the season. So I'm taking it really with a pinch of salt at the moment. I think that there's still a very long season to go, but they definitely look off the pace at the moment. There's no doubt about that. I think really one of the only informed players I can argue from City is Haaland, because
I mean, he's always going to be on form, isn't he? But me and Will said this last week on this show. Like, I mean, he said it, but they just don't have a plan B. They have a plan A. Oh, I'll let you explain.
The plan A is City used to be so good because they just pass you to death, and when that passing you to death didn't work, then they became a bit unstuck, and then they seem to have gone like the opposite way, where they'll still pass you to death, but the plan A is so different now to what it was at the start of Pep's reign, where even if that fails, they don't like they're lacking Rodri, who proven match winner, and listen, we all play FPL, and when I do bad, it's because Haaland's not scored, and he's not reached the heights of previous years, has he? And I just think they're lacking a plan B. They've only got him as a striker, and he's got all the qualities. We all know what they are, but then they've not got anyone like Julian Alvarez, who they used to have, who left for Atletico Madrid. So do they need a plan B, or are they just missing Rodri?
I think really the wingers are a key issue. I think ultimately a striker like Haaland is rendered useless, and I will say the same for Højlund as well, going back to United. A number 9 of that stature cannot perform unless he's got the wingers and the midfielders to back him up. I think the elephant in the room, of course, as well, is Rodri's injured, likely for the rest of the season, and I think this is really now exposing just how vital he is to that team, which I think justifies why he got the Ballon d'Or in the first place, ahead of Vinicius. But definitely, players like Phil Foden need to step up a little bit more. Not just on club level, on international level as well, of course. But Haaland can't perform at the high standard that he can if he's not got the wingers being able to make those key passes and expose the defenders and allow for a route through.
So, yeah.
I don't think many people mentioned De Bruyne as well, because he was like the driving force behind Haaland's, the heights that he was at because of his ability to just, squeeze that ball into a gap into the box.
Is De Bruyne injured?
Exactly. Maybe.
I actually don't know, because he's had bad injury records in the past, but is he actually injured?
I think he's...
Because he's...
Did he play... I think he did play against Brighton.
He didn't start in the last game against Brighton.
So he might be. But no one really... I don't think anyone really mentions De Bruyne. Obviously, if it's injuries, it's nothing. It's out of his control. But I think he's also integral to how Haaland has, been such a machine in front of goal over the past few seasons, because De Bruyne's just so smart with finding him, and he knows exactly where Haaland will be. Haaland will know exactly where De Bruyne's going to play it. So I think that's a big
psychic
big factor as well, yeah.
So City have got Spurs in the next game. They lost to Spurs at the beginning of this 4-match run, albeit it was in the cup, but Angie's Tottenham are a bit of a tricky side, aren't they? They're very the mental with the press. That's the best way to put it.
Oh, yeah.
They'll press with 11 men, even the goalkeeper if they have to.
Yeah, they're a very intense squad at the moment. They can press hard just for most of the game. I think they can tend to look a bit fatigued towards the end of the match, but they do bring the intensity, which I think is very good. I just can't seem to figure out where the inconsistencies are coming from, because you just see Spurs absolutely dominating big games, really, and I think that might be the case here against City, as we saw in the Carabao Cup. But in the small games where you need to be getting, key points, really, games like Ipswich, Southampton, matches like that, they're tending to fall off, only drawing, losing. So I don't know what you think, Will. What really is the issue with Tottenham this season?
I don't know. I'd probably say it's just the Spurs mentality, really. They've not won anything, and it just seems to be like that squad's got no real X factor. There's the very good players. It's a very good squad, but like the loss of Harry Kane, they've lost that. He'll get you a goal no matter what. Rain, sunshine, hail, snow, whatever. He'll get you a goal, and I just think Spurs have got that very. Like they're a very good side and good in the big games, like you said. But then you look at, like, if you want to understand that Spurs team, Chelsea at home last season, where they had they were down to 9 men and they were defending on the halfway line, and Nicholas Jackson scores a hat-trick against them, and like they were brave in that game, and even though they lost 4-1, they played good football. But it's just they seemed a bit like it just sort of once it goes wrong for them, it goes very wrong. But the same could be said about City at the minute. Same could be said again about United. But especially with City, like that 4-1 loss against Sporting, they were 1-0 up and they were cruising that first half. Noel Gallagher, did you hear him on commentary? Didn't think it'd be this easy.
Oh,
and they lost 4-1, but they were winning against Brighton as well. And you can't discount that Brighton team. Really good at the minute. But City Spurs, where do you think that game lies? Tyler?
That's a really tough one to predict, because you've got the inconsistency of Spurs mixed with them beating them in the cup, but then City, so you can never really write City off.
No, you can't write City off, but the form that they're in at the minute.
To me, this has a draw written all over it. To me, I just think both teams right now are too inconsistent enough to really. If I had to sway it one way, I'd probably say City, because I just think they've got that. They've got the best striker in the world, pretty much, and you can just do nothing. You can do something out of nothing. Like you see the goal when he. Was it? I don't know who. I forgot who it was against. Maybe in the Champions League somewhere. But when he literally does a bicycle, like a.
Was it RB Leipzig? When he heals it.
Yeah. So it's just stuff like that. Like you just think, what? How on earth has he done that? I just think City have the, and also because they've been champions the past four years in a row. They've obviously got that mentality to, they could just scrape out and get a 1-0 with a Haaland tap in. So, I think it's a draw right and over. But if I had to sway it one way, it'd probably be Man City.
Is it a must-win? Liverpool looking quite polished. You're smiling there, Josh.
Honestly, I've been waiting for this moment for a good few years now. Still, part of me does not want to believe it because we've lost the league by a point that many times. I can't even count anymore. But no, I think this is definitely a must-win. It's a massive game, really, and this is going to be a real test for City to see how they can bounce back from a run of really poor form. Because obviously City are, really used to just pure success every season. So when they're having a rough patch, it's a test for a club like that. Because a club like Liverpool, we're constantly going through peaks and troughs. I could say the same about United, about Arsenal. That's common for clubs like that. I don't think for City it really is. So this is going to be a test of players' mentality and, just how solid they really are.
Yeah, so Liverpool have got Southampton next, so it's a bit of an easier game for Liverpool. So it's getting to be must.
But do you know what they need? If they want to win the title, they have to pick up these wins. They can't. I don't think they can underestimate Southampton.
No,
because I think Southampton have played really well against like United. They played really well against Newcastle. Obviously, they lost the games, but the performances are still there. They're picking up points here and there.
There's clear effort. That's what I will say about Southampton.
And you know what? You just can't write teams off like that, especially when you go, because obviously for the title you need to beat the teams around you. So Liverpool need to look at Man City and go, when we win that game, we want to beat Arsenal, Chelsea, stuff like that. But it's these little games that you can pick up points from that will really matter towards the end of the season. Especially if City get to, if the story's still the same as every season, gets to about February to March where they just go on it.
One of them runs.
So Liverpool need to pick up these points in this at this stage in the season against these lesser teams
for sure,
for it to matter in the long run.
And I think there's a lot of pressure on Arne Slot after the Southampton game because we've got, I believe it's City away as well in the Premier League, and we'll have Real Madrid, which will be at Anfield, which obviously is going to be an absolutely massive game in the Champions League.
Southampton on Sunday at 2:00, then Real Madrid on Wednesday, then City the following Sunday, first day of December.
That'll be a good game.
Well, they said we were having a really difficult run of fixtures. I think it was going into October till now. They said it was going to be a real test for Arne Slot, but we've come out nearly flawless. We've won every game except, I believe it was Nottingham Forest at home, first loss since 1966 at Anfield, and then drawing against Arsenal at the Emirates. So a couple points drops there, but flawless in the Champions League, looked really strong in the Cup, and in the Prem, just been capitalising on City crumbling.
Yeah, perfect. Right then, we'll be back, but first we have this. Welcome back to the sports show, and that was Dakota by Stereophonics. And this is your sports show. If you're only just joining us, where have you been? We've just discussed a lot of the Premier League, really, but mainly City and United, because that's all we care about here in Greater Manchester. But should we move on to Salford City first? Because Carl Robinson's men are they're in all right form.
Mhm.
I'll give them that. I watched them. I wasn't there against Doncaster at the weekend, but they drew 1 apiece. They were good. I'm enjoying watching Salford. They're playing some nice football. Carl Robertson speaks well in his post-match interviews, which is always a good thing. And Doncaster were 4th. Good old Billy Sharp scored for them. An equaliser in the 77th minute. Killian Kouassi.
Billy Sharp. Wow.
Yeah, it's a name, isn't it? Killian Kouassi got the first one for Salford, and Salford sit 14th. They've had 2 wins, a draw, a loss, and a draw in the last 5. It is League 2, so they're obviously going to be pushing for promotion. What do they need to do to improve on that, Josh?
Consistency. I mean, that's been the key issue with Salford the entire season. I believe the current standing is they've had 5 wins, 5 losses, 5 draws. So I think that does scream really all over the show. But there are signs of improvement. I think they had a lot of teething issues at the start of the season. Of course, had the worst League 2 run ever in the season just earlier. And they've been kind of languishing in the 4th tier of the football pyramid for quite a few seasons now. So I think really if they can nail the consistency, start using the young players a little bit more, just Carl Robinson keep on pushing them in training, I think definitely promotion could be on. But League 2 is a very scrappy league, and it really takes it out of the players, and it's more a matter, I guess, of whether they'd be able to survive League 1 if they did get promoted.
You speak about young players, and Kelly Namai, for me, is their best player. He plays on the left channel, and I've seen Salford 3 or 4 times now, and every time he's played, he's been electric. He seems to tear the opposition right back apart, because he's relentless. He just keeps going at you and keeps going at you. But Carl Robinson speaks in his post-match interviews, and he's always on about goals and a lack of goals in this Salford team. And as you said, 5 wins, 5 draws, and 5 losses. If they can turn some of them draws into wins, they're in a much better position. They've got Bromley at the weekend, who are 20th. Tyler, what do you want to see out of that game? It's at home.
You want to see him win, obviously, right? You know, you've got a Bromley newly promoted, right?
Yeah, newly promoted, 3 draws, one win, 1 loss.
Struggling in the League 2. It's I don't want to repeat what I said, but it's like with Liverpool on the other end with winning the title. For Salford to get onto that next level from being a mid-table side to pushing for promotion, they need to get these wins against these lesser teams.
The tricky teams.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, because Bromley will sit back, allow Salford to have most of the ball. So you want to see these exciting players get on the ball and create something, because it's not just going to, especially with a team that are just going to sit back, and just defend for pretty much the whole entire game. You need these exciting players to make something out of nothing. And, Carl Robinson wants to see goals, so they need to create, these chances to make them into goals. And then, you want to see them pick up these wins, because if they're not going to, again, it's like, because they're mid-table, they want, I think the result against Doncaster was a great result against 3rd place. They're pushing for automatic promotion.
They played well. A draw is a bit unlucky for them. They played well.
And they were up as well. So, on the other side, they've got a good draw against a top, a top side in League 2. But then when it comes to the bottom side, you want to see them get these wins. If they're not gonna beat these teams pushing for automatic promotion. But for a team like Salford, who keep wanting to improve in every season, they need to get these small results. Keep building towards promotion.
Should we look forward? So Salford have got Bromley at the weekend. Then the second round of the FA Cup, they've got Cheltenham, which is another League 2 side just below Salford, sitting 17th. And then they've got Harrogate again, sitting 18th. And then they've got Gillingham, who are 10th. So they've got a nice couple of fixtures there, and they're looking at 1 a week coming into a tricky Christmas period. If they can build maybe 8 points, 9 points from these next couple of games, where do you see this Christmas period impacting the next bit of their season?
I think it could either be the thing that makes their season or breaks it, because if they build a lot of momentum, as you say, pick up 8 points roughly, I think they could look really strong going into springtime. And like I say, we can all say that they've been putting in the effort. Salford City look to be, in my opinion, one of the more electric teams in the league. I just think their execution's not been perhaps where it needs to be, which is why Carl Robinson, like you say, has been arguing we need more goals, putting more behind the net. But you can see the effort's clearly there. But I absolutely think these are must wins. if they won against, I believe it's Cheltenham, isn't it, in the FA Cup?
They beat Shrewsbury in the previous round of the FA Cup.
Yes.
They've got Cheltenham coming up. Not this weekend, the 30th, Saturday the 30th at home.
I think if they win that match, that'll be a real big motivator for them because everyone loves the FA Cup. Everyone wants to go far in a competition like that. That is
They'll
arguably
be into the third round.
Yep.
Yep.
The big teams are in there. If you can get a good TV draw, it'd be good for the profits and maybe help Carl Robinson get a good quality striker that he's hoping for.
I also think having Cheltenham in that realm of where you are setting the table as well, I think beating them in the FA Cup is, an added bragging right to, in the league.
It's a good litmus test.
It is, yeah, exactly, and it's another good test. That's basically, obviously they want to win the game, but that's like a pre-game to the game in the league, right?
Yeah,
so
a precursor to the game in the league.
And as you said, you've got a nice run of fixtures around in these teams around them, so they want to pick up these points because these are the points in this period as well that, like Josh said, will break their season. So
they lost to Carlisle. It was a game of two halves really. I was there. Salford wiped the floor with them in the first half and just could not put it away. Comes to the second half, Carlisle, a few little tweaks, changes, and they were miles better. And Carlisle are sat 23rd in the league, so they're obviously not in great form. But that second half performance, I thought, was excellent, and they did deserve to win it at the end. Dagger to the heart the way they won it. 90th minute winner, and the lad is a corner whipped in back post, and he just sort of launches himself off the defender and heads it in. And the Carlisle fans travelled in the numbers, and they went mental, and it was good to see, to be honest. But a loss to Carlisle, who are 23rd, they're the games that they can't be losing. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's in League Two, every point counts because all the clubs, way more than the Premier League, are so close together, and it's such a scramble really to get just promoted and not fall down to the National League. There's a lot of pressure really, but it was absolutely a must-win. Carlisle, as you say, really deserved that. They put so much effort into that second half. I think they walked into it looking a little bit defeated, but after that dressing room talk, I think they looked like a completely different team overall, and just Salford unfortunately couldn't respond. But there's a long season to go really, and I think that these next few games will be absolutely crucial because on top of that as well, it's trying to make your club look attractive going into the January market, to try and get a few players, on loan to your club, maybe to get a couple permanent signings, maybe sell off a couple players as well, make a bit of a profit. So it's a crucial time for Salford and for all League Two clubs really.
Yes, it is, coming into this busy Christmas period. We'll be back, but first we have this. Welcome back. That was the K's, a band that I'm loving at the minute. Sarajevo, they're mint. That's the best way to describe them. But let's get back to the sport, shall we, lads? England women announced a squad yesterday for some upcoming internationals against the USA and Switzerland, both at home. And they're just friendly, so they don't. It's not going to anything. A bit like what England men have just done, Nations League. I know it's Nations League, but they are just glorified friendlies. But some interesting picks in the squad. Big names out injured. Ella Toon's out with a knee injury. But some young women footballers who are really making an impact in the scene have been picked. What do you think what do you think the impact of that is on women's football?
I think, these two games are friendlies at the end of the day, so I guess you can argue they don't have that much significance, but I always think that friendlies, whether it's women's or men's football, really count the best towards the end of the year, really, because it's about trying to, just put in as much effort as you can, maybe give some youngsters a couple of chances, which is what we're seeing with the Lionesses squad after it was announced just a couple of days ago. And I think if they can get two good results here against, I believe you said it was the USA and Switzerland.
Yes, both at home.
Yes. Both at home at Wembley, so the atmosphere will be brilliant. It should be a good opportunity for a couple youngsters to show what they're made of, really. And then going into 2025, the Lionesses really will have a better image of what they're looking like, really, and will feel a lot more motivated, I think, going into the next year.
Yeah, well, Serena Wiegman's picked Lauren Blind-Killed-Brown of Manchester City. This will be her first cap, and Ruby Mace, and that'll be her first cap. Both young footballers of Browns of Manchester City and Maces of Leicester City. The opportunity to give young footballers a platform is that what friendlies are for? The platform to get your foot in the door of the international football? Because club football, albeit it takes the precedent, is a different atmosphere and expectations, would you say, to international football?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you want to, as a international manager, you're constantly like, even though you know your squad, you're constantly thinking about who you can bring in to keep that football flowing, right? So there's loads of notable players missed out through injury. Like you said, you said Ella Toon, but you've also got Lauren James and Lauren Hemp, two big players for, both City and Chelsea respectively, who are, the two best in the league. So with them out, that's opportunities for players to come in and may necessarily not replace these notable players specifically, but, bring them into consideration over, the players who, may sit on the bench for a bit in these tournaments, or older veterans who may be getting on, you want to replace with youth. And you've got games like USA. USA, like, didn't they just win the Olympics? And they're the number one team in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Emma Hayes is coming back to, face them. So it's, even though it's a friendly, you've got teams like USA who, if a player impresses against England, they may look at this player and go, you know what, this is exciting. Even though it's a friendly, it's still against the best team in the world. So, it's all about, getting yourself into consideration into these major tournaments. That's what friendlies are all about, really, aren't they?
For me, I look at this squad and I go, there's a really nice mix of youth and experience and different player types. And it's like you've got Mary Earps, experienced goalkeeper. You've got Leah Williamson, Arsenal captain, hero of the Euro win, really. But then you've also got the young players, like we said. Compare that to the last England squad that did a major tournament. Could the men's team learn something from the women's team in picking a balanced squad, a squad that isn't just all your best players shoehorned into one team? Because we've seen that's historically not worked.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a key issue with the men's team, really, because we've saw with, Southgate was the man who just did this all the time, and just picked by far the best players that, have the English flag stuck on their chest, and 9 times out of 10 it would end up collapsing by the end of whatever tournament we were playing, whether it was the Euros, whether it was the World Cup. I think definitely the Lionesses always tend to produce not maybe a squad full of the absolute best players, but a balanced one where every player complements each other. There's plenty of squad depth, and I think that was something that really the England men's team have been lacking for a few years, especially, I will say, in the Euros. There was a lot of mavericks within that team, a lot of key attackers that tend to work on their own, and maybe not many players that can just, create a flow of the ball across the pitch. And I think that was a key reason why we didn't manage to win against Spain in the final, really. So I think there's definitely something that the men's team could learn from the Lionesses.
Well, should we segue on to the men's team? So they just beat Ireland, didn't they, 5-0? And Lee Carsley's tenure as interim boss is over. Thomas Tuchel takes charge in, is it January?
Yes.
Ready for the March internationals. What are the expectations on Tuchel then? Is it to win from the off?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think, especially this, in my lifetime, this is the best generation of players coming in now that I've seen England have in a while. Obviously, I think the first World Cup I remember specifically, or the first major tournament, was the 2014 World Cup, where obviously we went out in the group stages. And, we lost to teams like Uruguay, who, nowadays you wouldn't even think about losing to Uruguay. So I think, and again with Thomas Tuchel, we mentioned it last week, didn't we? But I remember saying, like, he took a Chelsea team who shouldn't have won the Champions League to win the Champions League. So if you can take a team like that to win something like the Champions League and beat a Man City, who were the clear best in the world at that time, what can you do with such an exciting England team?
Yeah. For me, Thomas Tuchel has got to get the best out of this obviously talented crop of players that we've got, but at the same time, he's just got to... I think the midfield's the issue for England. You've got to have a midfield that first complements each other, but at the same time works, because we've seen, like, with Gareth Southgate, first off, I lied. Jordan Henderson was the staple of his midfield, and Jordan Henderson is not good enough quality to be, like, winning World Cups and the rest.
And then you had Calvin Phillips as well,
Yeah.
which...
And you look at the squad that he just took to the Euros, and Adam Wharton didn't come off the bench. You've got Kobbie Mainoo, 2 brilliant young players, But then you also got Bellingham, who's a number 10, and we've got a lot of number 10s, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden. You've got Declan Rice as well. For me, he's just got to find a midfield that is fluid and works together. And if you're leaving one of your big players out, so be it. Get a midfield that it will just pick up the pieces and you can pass it back to them and they'll just recycle it and keep it ticking, keep it moving. Because it is your heartbeat of the team at the end of the day, midfield. Would you say that's the most important thing that he's got to fix?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't... Just backtracking onto your question of, what does Thomas Tuchel need to do when he starts in? And I think I'm personally not someone who thinks that he needs to get the results straight away. I think he just needs to experiment a little bit. We've got a year where there's basically nothing happening internationally until we get to the World Cup in 2026, which is going to be absolutely huge for football, of course. And I think really this is a great time for Tuchel to bring on a lot more younger players. Like you say, Kobbie Mainoo, Cole Palmer, Adam Wharton barely got any time in the Euros. And I think that was a key issue with Southgate, that he just was so set in his ways with his squad. He barely wanted to change it. I mean, I find it a miracle that he even gave Jude Bellingham much playtime in the World Cup. That was a real one-off for him. So I think if Tuchel can give the opportunity to a lot of young players, as well as ones that haven't really been getting any international caps at all, like Jared Branthwaite or Tonali as well. I believe it is. Not Tonali, sorry. Tomori, that was it.
Yeah,
from Milan. Never really gotten any international opportunities for England at all, and he's been one of England's best centre-backs in my opinion. Just never got the opportunity to get any time.
I think to give Southgate his flowers though, whether it was his choice or not, in that Euros you started to see that like new generation come in. Like Henderson weren't there, Calvin Phillips wasn't there. Even though Adam Wharton didn't play, he still brought Adam Wharton on. But I think what Tuchel needs to do now is actually give these players a chance. I think there's still more players in that squad, in my opinion, that shouldn't be there now. I think their time's done with the England team. I don't want but players like Kieran Trippier. I think Kyle Walker, in my honest opinion, these players who, they're getting on a bit,
Who would you replace him with then? I'll ask you that. Who would you replace him with? Because to me, the quality of Kyle Walker...
On the right side, I'd say Livramento,
yeah,
especially for the viewer. Yeah. Left back, there's not many great left backs. That's the issue.
Do you need a great left back, or do you need someone who fits into a system?
It's all what Thomas Tuchel plays, right? But who's our best left back? It's Luke Shaw, and Luke Shaw's about as useful as...
Could you not fit Lewis Hall there?
I mean, yeah, that's a good idea. I think he's the two. They're doing really well for Newcastle.
Yeah.
I think bringing them players in, like Josh said, we haven't got anything right now until the World Cup that mean any significance. So I think Tuchel does need to try with these players. If it doesn't work with the young players, bring back Kieran Trippier, bring back Kyle Walker, see who it fits, see if Luke Shaw's fit or not. It's all about experimenting and see what works. To be honest, he's in the best position, in my opinion, as the England manager to really make his craft and perfect the craft. He's literally got a year. Even though we may not have as many, he might not have as many games as he would at club football, obviously, but I think, perfect his craft and see what works and what doesn't. And if that means you're missing out key players in the World Cup, it won't matter in the long run if we win the World Cup. No one will remember these players missing out. They'll remember that we finally won something.
Yeah.
Well, we won't have Kieran Trippier anymore as well.
Oh, well, of course.
He stepped away internationally, so that's brought on a big question of really who is going to be that key left back for England now. Of course, Luke Shaw, yes, very good quality, but just
So
unbelievably inconsistent. Just barely getting any game time because most of the time he's injured. I mean, we hardly see him play for United, let alone internationally.
Yeah.
So Tuchel's definitely got a big job on his hands, but there aren't many managers, I'd argue, out there that can do so much with so little. And I think that Tuchel is one of those, much on the same level as the likes of Jurgen Klopp, for example. Not to bring Liverpool back into the debate again, but no, I've got all faith in Tuchel. I think he's definitely a really strong manager.
Was he the best option at the
yes,
time?
100%.
Absolutely. I think we're really fortunate to even have got him. I was really surprised when the announcement came because I thought he'd be on for much more than maybe an international club. But listen, it's happened, so I'm more than happy to take him on.
Yeah, perfect. Right, so we're going to have another song, and then we'll be back talking to Josh, our rugby expert, and we'll talk about Magic Weekend.
Am I left out of that? All right.
Magic Weekend.
Magic Weekend. His favourite. He's rubbing his hands together. You can't see him in the studio here, but he's loving it.
Well, if you're on Shock TV, you can.
Yes.
So
Shock TV on YouTube, and you'll be able to see this tomorrow.
And I will be silent this whole time.
No, you can chip in with some of the rugby.
I know nothing.
You'll know something.
What's-
Right, but we'll have this song first before Tyler starts panicking. We're back. We just had an intruder in the studio sorting the cameras out because there was a light switch in the back of a shot that says, don't forget your USB or HD, which really annoyed him on this shot, which is quite funny. But
make sure you don't ever, folks, by the way.
yeah, don't forget your USB, it's quite important. Now, Josh, this is all on your shoulders now. I'm such a good rugby fan that I watched a Super League final that Wigan won, and I just announced myself as a Wigan fan.
Oh, no, you didn't.
I did.
No.
Oh, he's not.
No.
He's not happy. To be fair though, all the Wigan players when they won the league the year before came into work where I work at a bar, and I've met them all, and like they were all saying, to be fair, but Super League, Magic Weekend, go on.
Well, first of all, I can say this because I'm in Salford, but dirty pie eaters. Come on, you Saints. Right, anyway, Magic Weekend. Let's talk.
I have no idea what that meant. literally.
Oh, it's
Mayford.
Wigan lingo.
Mayford and Star Wars Day as well, by the way. We're going to be at it's going to be at St James's Park for Magic Weekend this year. Great ground, of course. Tickets are actually quite cheap. I was going to look at getting some. £47 for both days. That's 6 fixtures. Absolutely brilliant.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So we are in Salford, of course. So I'm going to focus very much on Salford Red Devils. They're going to be playing Hull KR on May 3rd. That's the middle fixture, of course. Hulkinston Rovers have had a really good previous season, made it to the grand final for the first time. Unfortunately lost to Wigan, but their story's been fantastic for the past 10 years, going from relegation, finishing bottom of the league, to now making the first final in their history as well. So
Tyler's just shaking his head.
What on earth? This is a different language.
He hasn't got a clue about that.
I don't have a clue.
I ain't got a clue.
rugby league is honestly such a good sport.
Rugby league is played along the M62, right? And Hull is the weirdest town or city ever. They've got one professional football club, but 2 rugby league teams. Find me anywhere else in the country that has that. And it's played along the M62.
St Helens.
No one talks about.
You've
St.
not got a
Helens.
professional football team at all, though.
Yeah, we have St Helens Town.
Yeah, but
Who?
they're not professional, are they?
We're like languishing in non-league, that's it.
Yeah. I've played against St Helens Town, so it can't be that good. Anyone's seen me play? It's not great.
Well, speaking of Saints, they are actually going to be hosting Salford Red Devils' first game of the season. The Super League fixtures also came out today. So it's going to be Saints versus Salford Red Devils at the Totally Wicked Stadium. So that should be a really
I'm
important
going to be
fixture.
a Salford fan for that game.
Yeah. Big up Salford. You've got it now. You can't be a Saints supporter anymore. Salford Uni, Salford Red Devils, Salford City Football Club.
Well, considering the fact that an old classmate of mine has actually made the squad, I feel like a bit of loyalty is owed to Saints still. And, I've got about 1 million Saints shirts in my wardrobe back at home, so I think my dad would disown me if I turned to Salford. But no, that should be a really interesting fixture, I think, because 2 very high-level clubs. Saints have definitely been on a downgrade the past couple seasons, ever since they got the 4-peat of championships. And as for Salford Red Devils, they've just been lacking that push, really, because they've been making it to the playoffs every single time for the Super League, and I just think they've narrowly missed out on winning titles just to, obviously Wigan and St Helens and clubs like Hull KR as well. So
should we move on?
Come on, Salford.
Yeah,
I've had my moment now.
Should we move on from? Yeah, you've had your moment.
Yeah,
back down now, back down. But I was gonna say, should we move on from the Saints to a lad who's from St Helens who is tearing it up at the minute, innit? Little.
Right, now I'm perched up.
Right,
Like,
hang on. I have to also correct it. I'm gonna be such a nerd. He's actually from Warrington, I'll have you know. And St Helens and Warrington, 2 very different places, I'm afraid. Don't want to associate with Wire.
If anyone's not up to date on the geography, there are stones throw away. He's just overreacting. So Luke Littler won the Grand Slam of darts, didn't he? 16-3, beating Martin Lukeman in the final. He won 15 legs on the spin. Martin Lukeman, to be fair to him, played his consistent level that he had done all tournament and was no match for Luke Littler. Luke Littler had that about him where he wasn't losing. Like, you look at, he beat, so Littler gets out his group, does really well, and then he beats Jermaine Watamina 16-2. And that quarter-final, went the same way as the final, he just peppered that treble 20 bed through the first half of the final and the quarter, and then just was fine in his doubles for the rest of it, and he just couldn't keep up. We've got the World Championships coming up. Who's your pick? Who's your pick for that? Starts 15th of December. Who's your pick?
I can't wait for this. I always look forward to the darts championship every single Christmas. I think it's a tough one this year because I would argue Luke Littler is potentially a front runner. I don't want to jump on the hype train because Luke Littler has so many fans behind him. I think he made a lot of the world fall in love with darts all over again. And just watching him play, like you say, he's just so rapid. He's like he's a lot like Ricky Evans, I think. Just he's a lot more accurate with his shots.
Ricky Evans is great though.
Ricky Evans, he's fantastic.
Ricky Evans is great this time of year because he will come out in a Christmas costume to Christmas music, and it'll be on like a Thursday afternoon at dinner time, and not many people will watch it, and I'll just be sat there at home, right, in the summer house, just giggling to myself playing darts, and when Ricky Evans comes out with a beard and a hat on, and all the rest. Tyler, who's your pick?
Do you know what? I'm gonna sit here and say I wasn't the biggest darts fan until I saw Luke Littler last year. I actually tuned into the dart. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. But I'm gonna back Luke Littler. I think everyone and the grandmas can see how much of a talent he is. Yeah. Bursting onto the scene straight away, almost winning it last year, and then obviously winning the Grand Slam just gone. And then obviously I'm gonna back him.
He's won 10 titles this year. He's been a professional for 11 months. The lad's 17.
It's a joke.
He's playing some really, really nice darts at the minute. And
Well, he's on track at the moment, not just to surpass the achievements of Michael van Gerwen, but almost to the level of Phil Taylor. He's a real serious talent.
Well, he's sitting number 5 in the world at the minute.
Yes.
He's about £70,000 in prize money off Rob Cross. I'm not sure if he'll get there at the end of the year. Rob Cross is playing really nice stuff and going under the radar. There's a lot that are going under the radar at the minute.
Rob Cross has been consistent since day one, since he had that absolute explosion.
Fairy tale run.
I think it was 2018?
So, the 2018 World Championships, Phil Taylor's last. Rob Cross, not even a professional the year before. He goes to the UK Open as like winning the, what do you call it? Like a prelim round. Goes to the UK Open like the year before, and then slowly works his way up, gets a tour card, gets to the final on the first attempt, and great. For me, I've got two. Gonna cop out.
Oh, here we go.
Gary Anderson has been mint on the floor. Mint. He's had over 12 110 averages, and that is mental. We need to stop normalising like over 100 averages because it's mental. I've only ever got 83.5, and I'm like, oh my god, heart attack coming. Gary Anderson's been mint on the floor, and it clicked this weekend. And then and then he ran into Luke Littler, and it's like, no, nice one. Cheers, mate. Just ruined my Gary Anderson party.
That was a really rough fixture, I think, for him because Gary Anderson was
He went mint. He battered him, and then Littler just went, "Oh yeah, I'm not losing this," and just went, "Yeah, sorry, Gary, shake me hand. I'm through to the final." Yeah, but I also think Luke Humphries as well.
Yeah.
Look, he's not won the last two majors.
I don't think you can write Luke Humphries off.
No.
This time last year, he won his first major, his second. He was on to his third for the Players' Championship, which is coming up in Minehead next weekend. Might even be this weekend, actually. It's coming up soon. And then he won the World Champs. He won 4 in the spin, and he's been unbeatable since. And he went out of the groups at the Grand Slam. And to be fair, Humphries isn't good over. Well, he obviously is good, but a first to 5 legs isn't his forte. It's like the first to 16, the first to 18 where he's mint. And the World Championships, you're playing sets, so you're playing up to 5 legs in each set, and that I think you can't write Humphries off. He's so good.
Yeah, I think with the World Championship, it's also a lot more of an endurance test, really,
Yes.
because they're much longer games. So I think that will be a test for Littler, of course. For Luke Humphries, it's where he thrives most, and I think a lot of the more experienced dart players like Gary Anderson, I think, as much as Van Gerwen and Michael Smith have kind of fell off the radar a little bit this past year, I think you can't discount them because they come in large at World Championships and they just always explode onto the scene and then perhaps disappear towards the middle of the year. So I think there's a lot of candidates for the World Championship this year, but I think definitely Luke Littler's got good odds. I just think he needs to relax himself a little bit And, you know, if he does get into the final, maybe not lose his head again like he did the last time, because I think he could have absolutely won it last year had
It
he
was
not.
that double two. That double two cost him. It was to go 2 sets up. And
Yes.
that double two just cost him. But we will see come December 15th. Right. Thank you very much, lads.
It's all right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us this week. And we'll be back. We'll be back next week. Same time, 6 till 7, sports show. We'll be keeping up with Salford at the weekend. Best of luck to them. And all the rest. F1's on this weekend again. It's back. And we'll be there. We'll be keeping
Come
up
on,
to date.
United.
And
That's
if
all I'm gonna
you
say.
want to, if you didn't get a chance to watch this, you can find it on Shock
Yes,
TV on the
yes.
YouTube channel. You can also find us on Mixcloud if you want to recap the radio version.
That'll
But
be me. That'll be me. I like listening to it back. I'm not gonna lie.
He's a natural, this lad. I'm the presenter. And he's already plugging. I'm loving it. You can come
we
back
we
next
had
week.
to jump it in. I
He's
feel
got
like
to. He's
there's
got
probably
to.
a gun at the back of my head from the from the office. Just someone.
Hit a thumbs up from behind the cameras. Right, perfect. We'll speak to you all next week. Nice one.